Welcome everyone to today's webcast, Driving Your Bottom Line with Social Networking, presented by Motorage and supported by Demandforce. I'm Tschanen Brandyberry, Managing Editor of Motorage Magazine, and I will be your moderator during today's webcast. You all have worked hard to make sure your shop's reputation is good and that customers know they can trust you. But in today's changing world, word around town isn't enough anymore. You need to make sure your online reputation is just as solid as that in the real world. Today, Chris Brubaker, a small business marketing expert and Director of Marketing at Demandforce, will work with you on managing your online reputation. He has prepared for you a lesson on how to build your reputation, how to leverage your shop's assets to fill your technicians' days with work, and how social media and mobile technologies play into all of this. Chris has nearly 15 years of experience in customer acquisition and online marketing for such firms as You Send It, Merchant Circle, and Siemens. He focuses heavily on modern marketing techniques and tries to answer questions such as, how do I maximize the value of a visit to my website? Or what channels are the most cost-effective means of customer acquisition? Now that you know a little bit about Chris and what to expect in today's webcast, let's get started. Chris, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Shannon, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me today. We're going to spend about 40-45 minutes talking about everything Shannon just mentioned, and then I'll have time for questions at the end. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say and what questions you have. So, yeah, let's get started and get straight into the agenda. Oops, a little quick on the trigger there. What a start. Okay, here we go. So we are going to go over the reputation, how it's important, and one of the things I really am looking forward to sharing with you is some of the latest research on reputation, so you can see how it impacts small businesses in America. What effect does reputation have on search, and what is the role of advertising, especially with the advent of mobile? That's changing a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit about that. It's good to know whether your reputation is important and how to leverage it, but we all know there's third-party websites out there that a bunch of the consumers go to check your reputation. We're going to spend a little bit talking about which ones are important. We'll talk about mobile, and I'll cover social media in there as well, dealing with feedback, and at the very end, a small bit on Demandforce and how we play into this. So let's get going. First of all, what is reputation? You know, in the old world, obviously word of mouth, what your customers said about you, maybe what the local paper said, what people said about you at the Better Business Bureau, et cetera. There's a lot of offline reputation, and we're not going to cover that too much today, but we are going to cover online reputation. And online reputation, most people think of it as just reviews, but it's actually a lot more than that, and I just want everyone to have a holistic, comprehensive view of what reputation is. Yes, reviews are critically important, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but it's more than just that. It's your business information. You're probably not sure exactly which websites your customers are visiting to find out about you, so it's really important to have consistent business information, have the same phone number, same address, same hours of operations appear across all sites. Endorsements, affiliations, if you have any. Your web presence, do you have a professional appearance? Do you accept feedback? Are you easy to do business with? You know, is your phone number prominently displayed? Does it look like you're a real business that wants to talk to your customers? Social media. This is both user-generated content, you know, like reviews on Yelp, CitySearch, Google, et cetera. It's what people say about you on Facebook and Twitter. If they are talking about you in non-official channels, i.e. not your Twitter account. And then the final thing is links to your website. This is more of a crowdsource approach to reputation that the search engines use to determine how popular you are, and we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But the first thing is let's talk about research. And I want to ask you guys a poll question first, and I'm curious, how important do you think reviews are in the decision-making process of the consumers that come to your auto shops?
Okay. To our attendees, what you can do here is choose any one of those answers: very important, somewhat important, neutral, somewhat unimportant, or unimportant, just by clicking the button to the left of those options and clicking Submit Your Answer. I'd also like to let you know at this point that if you have any questions at all during this presentation about what Chris is talking about, you can submit them to us, and we will ask them throughout and at the end of the presentation. So again, just to reiterate here, we want to know how important do you believe the reviews are in this decision-making process. Looking at our answers, it looks like the majority of you, just under 61%, do believe that these reviews are very important, and it's good to see that nobody thinks that they are unimportant. And now that you've had a chance to answer that, and Chris, now that you have that information on our audience's perception, I'll turn things back over to you.
Yeah, and it's good to see that everyone thinks they're either somewhat important or very important. Hopefully, I'm going to convince the other 40% that they're actually very important here as I share some of the research with you. So the first number you see on the screen now is the 6% of consumers trust advertising, or and slightly marginally better, the 8% that trust what businesses say about themselves. That is an extremely low number. So the old days of printing out a brochure or having a local TV advertisement and telling everyone how great you are and having that drive a bunch of traffic, or at least have them believe what you're saying about yourself, those days are probably past. That's a very low number. And so what businesses really need to do is focus on the second number and see what their customers really trust. And that is friends, family, professional reviews, online reviews, etc. That's a fairly large difference, and hopefully you guys are aware of that now. So let's look at this slide, and it dives in a little bit deeper. So this is trust by specific categories and not just rolled up into that 87% number. The top one is Consumer Reports. I don't believe they rank local auto shops. I could be wrong, but this is the brand name, the magazine, and obviously they've done a great job building trust amongst their readership. But the next biggest one is friends, families, colleagues, and then the third one is other consumers. And you'll notice here it's kind of slight, but other consumers, i.e. third-party reviews that people find on websites, are more trusted than professional reviewers. So that means effectively having a good average rating on a review site is more important than a local newspaper writing up an article on how great you are. Granted, the numbers are pretty close, but the numbers don't lie, so to speak, and so you can hopefully see where people are trusting the reviews, and this matters, and I'll show you that in a second, because you need to be where your consumers are finding information about you that they trust. You'll notice reviews on company website, kind of a middling review, right there in the middle, where 41% think that it's just a 3 out of the 5 with about equal amounts on either side. So these are the types of quotes people put up on their website, that probably aren't all that attributable. It'll say, this is the best auto shop I've ever been to, and then it has Wendy and the whole thing's in quotes. And it's more like a testimonial as opposed to an official review. And those just get average ratings. And then the very interesting one is friends on a social networking site. So if someone puts a single review up there that, I found this to be good, intuitively we would probably think that that's a fairly good review, but actually that's not the case, and I don't have a reason why for that. So the point here is just getting people to write comments about you on your fan page is also not necessarily the best way to get somebody to trust that information. So yeah, let's go on to the next one here. Okay, this is an interesting slide as well. Percent of reviewers identifying reviews having a significant influence on the purchase. So 60% of you already said that you thought reviews were very important, and the other large 30% thought that they were somewhat important. Well, this pretty much shows that at least 3/4 of respondents, if not more, in most industries, including automotive, are checking reviews before they make a purchase decision. The money quote or the money piece of information here is that first bullet point. And you ask, well, why do they do that? Well, 97% of those surveyed said that the experience they had matched the review that they read. In other words, the review was accurate. 97%. That's incredible. And if you think about your own experience, and I check Yelp, for example, before I go out to local restaurants, generally speaking, I find that to be true. And I bet the vast majority of you find those reviews to be true as well. When Yelp has a restaurant at 4.5 stars, and you go out there, it's a pretty good restaurant. And when it's 3, it's not as good. At least that's my personal experience. And the research bears that out. I find that to be very interesting. So 3/4 of people are checking reviews before they make a decision, and 97% of them find that to be accurate. That's why reviews are critical. This next one is very interesting too, and unfortunately I couldn't find the statistic on automotive shops or the industry in general, but I still think it's relevant. It's something you guys should be interested in, and this is amount consumers are willing to spend for 5-star service. And what this means is the percentage that these industries can charge in over and above what a 4-star service business charges. So this isn't comparing 5-star to 3-star or 5-star to everybody else. This is just measuring the difference between 5-star reviews versus 4-star reviews. Restaurants can charge 45% more, hotels 38% more, etc. I wish I had this for automotive, but I don't. But the point here is, and all the research bears this out, is if you have 5-star reviews on average, and what that means, by the way, is probably 4.6 or above, you get to charge more for your services. And that's actually a pretty powerful message. So if you have 5-star reviews, then 3/4 of your potential consumers are probably reading those reviews before they come in. 97% believe that that's going to be accurate. And if you have that 5-star service, you can actually charge more. This was a brief look at research reviews, just spending a few minutes of the ones that I tried to, or I found that pertain particularly to auto shops. But there's a bunch of research out there. They've done travel research for travel industry, for video games, product purchases on Amazon. None of this is all that important to you, which isn't why I'm sharing it. But the point that I want to share with you is that all the research comes up the same. Reviews are important. The vast majority of people are using them before they make a purchase decision. The vast majority of consumers, if not nearly all of them, are finding the reviews to be accurate. And the higher review you have, the more you can charge. So hopefully that slams home the point that reviews are critical. And there's the slide on that. So let's take a look now at third-party sites. And you guys are probably familiar with a lot of these, but let's start with the poll question. And go ahead, Shannon, you want to take that?
I would say to the audience, what we wanted to do now is, as we get started with these third-party sites, we just wanted to gauge how much time you spend each month monitoring review sites. If you spend just between no time and 0 to 1 hours, 1 to 2 hours, 3 to 5 hours, or 5 hours or more monitoring these sites. Or if you don't monitor these review sites at all, there's also an option for you to choose there. Just choose the option that best fits what you do and click Submit Answer. Also at this time, I'd like to remind you, anything that we're covering today, you can ask questions on, just submit them, and we will have time at the end of the presentation for you to answer them. And it looks like it's pretty evenly split as to how much time you spend each month monitoring review sites. The majority of people, just under 35%, spend 0 to 1 hours, followed by an even split between 1 to 2 hours, or those that don't monitor them at all. And that's some great information to have there. And Chris, let's keep moving with our discussion and learn some more about these third-party sites that some people are familiar with.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a really interesting breakdown, especially the 24% that don't monitor at all. If you have a great reputation and no one ever says anything bad about you, then obviously that's a formula for success, right? It's just your good reputation will follow you everywhere you go, and it'll help you get business. If there's any bad feedback there, then that could be a problem. We'll talk a little bit more about that. The first thing is just understanding where consumers are going to get these reviews. So, we already mentioned that over three-quarters of people are checking review sites before they make a purchase decision. Well, where are they going exactly? And we've done a lot of research with that, and we wanted to find out which ones not were just important in general, but which ones were important to auto shops. So now you can't just add these numbers up. There's only 270 million online or people online in America or in the United States right now. And so obviously a lot of the people that are going to Google are also going to Facebook, also going to Yahoo, et cetera. But what you notice here is that there's a few major sites, and then they drop off considerably in terms of traffic. So these are numbers in millions. So Google has 172 million monthly users, for example. For those that are only or not checking reviews at all, for the 24% of you that said you're not monitoring it, hopefully, one, you'll be inspired to check them a little bit, but two, you can at least decide where to spend your time right now. So I saw one comment in here that Yelp is an extortionist. I'm paraphrasing. That they only favor people that do paid advertising, et cetera. And don't get me wrong, Yelp's an important site. But if I had to spend my time worrying about something here between Yelp and Google or Yahoo or Bing, for example, I know where I'm going to spend my time. And even Yellow Pages, which probably doesn't have the brand name in the online world that Yelp does, has about 50% more traffic. And then you see MapQuest up there as well. And the mapping sites are interesting, and I'm going to talk a little bit about those in a minute as well. So all of these sites are obviously not created equal. Having this information at your disposal will, at a minimum, help you decide which ones you should monitor. Now, that being said, if there's one site, even if it's like Dex Knows or something, or Angie's List, that you have a really bad review on, even though the traffic's not very high, it might be something you want to do about it. So let's go on to the next one. Sites that aren't important, these are, there's probably a lot more than this, and I don't think this is a comprehensive list. But the point here is that the local space is proven to be popular with entrepreneurs, and there's lots of sites popping up. And they might approach you and say, hey, you should buy an advertisement on the site, or you should buy a paid listing on this site. Here's some examples of the ones that have been doing that recently. So the reason they're on this list is either they're not important to auto shops, like Fixia isn't terribly important to auto shops, in our opinion. The other is they might have an auto section, but they don't have the traffic to make it worth your time. So anytime a salesperson approaches you with something like this, just ask them what their traffic numbers are, maybe come back and refer to this slide, and then you can make a decision on whether it's really worth your time or not. And the message here is you don't need to be on 200 different sites. You need to be on the important sites, and you need to be monitoring the important sites. So let's talk about the role of search reviews in search. The first thing that I want to call out is you'll see 4 things circled in red here. Look at the one that's in the bottom left corner. I'm sorry, in the top here. And you'll notice that some of the search results don't have the star ratings. You see the 5 little stars. Some have reviews, some don't. And the crucial thing here is if you don't have at least 5 reviews, Google does not show the star rating. So one of the things, just because it's visually interesting to people that are doing searches and you want to capture people's attention, you want to get up to 5 reviews on Google as soon as possible if you're not already. That'll have a very slight performance gain for you. The other thing that you'll notice is the Google Plus Places page on the right. The map shows up. You have hours of operation, and you have more reviews there down at the bottom right. These are all things that can be important as well because it gives the consumer extra information. It makes it easier for them, and it looks like you have a more professional appearance than somebody else. And you also see the images there as well. We'll go over this a little bit later in the Demandforce section, but this is the stuff you see on the right is all information that Demandforce syndicates to Google to help you get noticed. So with reviews in particular, there's 5 things that matter when it comes to search results. And the reason this is important is because this is how you're found. There will be a certain percentage of people that search for your auto shop in particular, but the vast majority of people when doing a search are going to do a search for something like auto care near your zip code. And that's how you want to be found. And think about this from Google's perspective or any of the search engine's perspective. They want to show good businesses to their customers because if their customers go to the site that they found and had a good experience, that has a positive reinforcement for Google. Google helped me find that, or Bing helped me find that. So it's in their best interest to show the absolute best businesses because that will reinforce their value proposition. So one of the things that helps them do that is look at reviews. But all reviews aren't created equally. And these 5 factors are weighted by the search engines to help them to decide which local businesses to show when someone does a local search. One of the reasons it's important, imagine something that's had 10 reviews, 20 reviews, but none in the last year. Google doesn't know. Maybe that business went out of business. Maybe people stopped rating and it's not a good experience anymore. So there's these 5 factors. The first one is purely volume. Number of reviews, how many do you have? Generally speaking, more reviews is better. And with some limits, and I'm going to talk about that with the velocity bullet, but generally speaking, you want a steady trickle of good reviews over time continuously being supplied to the third-party sites. The second thing is velocity, and this is probably the one that's the most misunderstood. Velocity is how frequently reviews get submitted. Like email, like search engine results in general, businesses spam the sites with fake reviews. They either type them in themselves or they have family members do it. And so the search engines and the local sites are constantly on the lookout for fake reviews. And one of the ways they measure this is with velocity, and that is how often do they get them. So, for example, you have no reviews for a week, no reviews for another week, no reviews for a third week, and on the 4th week you get 200 reviews submitted. That is a giant red flag to the search engines and to the local sites. So Yelp in particular is famous for this. You'll have 20 reviews and then you check it the next day and you're down to 5 and you're trying to figure out what happened. You probably got caught by their velocity trap. So if too many in a short period of time is bad, what is good? And the good is steady reviews, preferably of a high quality, over time. That's what they want to see. Sentiment, we already talked about the importance of having good ratings. That probably goes without saying, but 5 stars is better than 1 star, 4 stars better than 2 stars, etc. And so they want to have positive star ratings. But some of them are actually scanning the words that are typed into the written portion of the review too. So that's important as well. So you don't, and that's probably the 5th bullet there is keywords. It's great to have 5 stars, but it's even better to have them type something out. This shop was great. I really like dealing with Joe. I would definitely come back is better than great shop. And then the 4th bullet there, recency. all things being equal, a review that was a legitimate review in the eyes of a review site that was submitted a week ago is better than a review that was submitted a year ago. And that's actually a mistake that a lot of businesses make, is they get a few 5-star reviews that are very glowing reports on how great the business is, and then they stop emphasizing the review collection because they figure, oh, I have these 10, 15 great reviews. Well, as time goes by, the importance of those goes down, and this can affect your search rankings. And so you can't rest on your laurels, unfortunately. It'd be nice if you could, but you can't. So what about mobile? Mobile's interesting, and people think that it's really a different thing, that they have to do a lot of different things to show up on mobile devices, but that's actually not the case. Mobile is really local. If you're in the local sites, if you're on Yelp, if you're in Google Places, if you're in Yahoo Local, if you're in Bing Local, then you show up on the phone when people use these devices. So mobile isn't a separate thing. It's really a local thing. Local apps are becoming more important than search engines, and this is true in general online, but it's critical on mobile. People aren't going to Google on their iOS or Android device and searching for auto shops. They're going to their City Search app, they're going to their Google app, they're going, or Google Maps app I should say, or they're going to Yelp, and they're doing the search there. This has a few interesting ramifications. Obviously, there's a lot less screen real estate, and so it used to be important to show up on the first page of Google, which meant the top 10 search results. Well, now it's important to show up on the map. If someone's doing a search and the default is a 1-mile radius from their location, now it's important to be on the screen more than it's important to be, quote, in the top 10. And then the last thing here is the role of advertising is changing, and I don't know how many of you guys do online advertising, but it's obviously based on the financial performance of Google and the other search engines, it's a popular thing for local businesses to do. With mobile devices, there isn't 10 advertising slots like there are on a computer. Everyone can relate to doing a Google search and then seeing 2 sponsored links at the top and about 8 down the side. Well, that's space for 10 businesses to advertise. In mobile, there's usually 2 situations that happen with mobile advertising. The first one is there is no advertising, so you don't even have an opportunity to advertise, which means being optimized to show up on the map or showing up in the search in the in the local search is critical, because if you don't show up, that's it. You're not considered. The second one, though, is there's 1 advertising slot. So instead of being 1 of 10, you're the only one with an advertisement. And a lot of times that can take up 15, 20% of the screen real estate. So it's really bipolar, whereas before it was this gradual thing. Yeah, you could dip your toe in the water and maybe show up in the 8th advertising spot and see if you could get some business. Well, now it's either all, like you're the only advertiser, or nothing. There's no advertising available. So if someone approaches you and says you should do online advertising, you need to find out where, what apps are they showing up on. That's really important. And then what kind of screen real estate are you going to get. But the more common scenario right now is no advertising. And so, which is good news and bad news. It's bad in the sense that you can't just pay money to get to the top, but it's good news in the sense that you don't have to pay money. And if you're optimizing your site very well and making sure that you're in the local sites, especially the ones that I showed on the previous screen, you're going to show up. And, I'm not going to bring the slide back up, but MapQuest had approximately 34 million monthly users, and Yelp has 18 million. So ask yourself, wow, that's almost, tell yourself that's almost double the amount of people that are searching on MapQuest, which is not the most important mapping solution, over Yelp. You look at how high Google, Bing, and Yahoo were with their hundreds of millions of users a month, and you can make a very good argument that showing up on a map on a mobile device is a lot more important nowadays than showing up on Yelp, although Yelp's still important. Dealing with negative feedback, and I'm just going to spend one slide talking about this. But the first thing is determining if it's accurate or not. And, unfortunately, negative feedback is a part of doing business. It can't always be perfect. And in some instances, you don't want it to be. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. But the first thing is don't get emotional about it, and let's figure out if this is accurate or not. Some of the sites out there allow you to respond. And if they do allow you to do that, then we absolutely encourage you to do that. Acknowledge and respond. Apologize if necessary, and that's why the first thing is find out if it's accurate. If it is accurate, yes, I told them it would be their car would be ready in 2 hours, and I needed an extra day. Things happen, and people understand, but they don't like defensive people. They don't want people that won't acknowledge that it was their fault. So the first thing, if it's necessary, apologize. And what that really does is it turns a positive into a negative. You can't, have perfect customer experience for every single person that comes into the shop, and people know that. And so what your goal here is not necessarily to turn around the opinion of the person that was negative. What you're trying to do here is show the people that are reading that review that you're a real person, that you acknowledge when mistakes are made, and they can see how you respond when things don't go well. And this is an opportunity, like I said, not to turn around the person that wrote something bad about you, but to turn around or impress all the people in the future that see that review. So, like I said, don't be defensive. Getting a little static here. Be a real person. In the new social media world, people don't want corporate answers. They don't want, I'm sorry, that's not our policy type answers. They want a real person responding to them. So don't be afraid to attach your name. I'm really sorry for your experience. Would love an opportunity, to help you again in the future, Chris. People like that. And then the final thing here is don't get too downtrodden or upset about some negative feedback. Absolutely, you want those good reviews. You want that 4 to 5 star rating. Absolutely. But a couple of people every once in a while saying something negative about you and giving you an opportunity to respond, research shows that actually makes all of your reviews appear to be more legitimate. And that's because no one believes if someone has 100 reviews and every single one of them is 5 stars, there's some mistrust there that, well, I wonder if this shop gamed the system or wrote it themselves. This almost doesn't seem believable. It's our opinion that essentially what you want is the vast majority positive and a couple negative with your response that makes everything more believable, and it gives more credit and credence to the good reviews that you do have. So the key here is monitor the sites, find out where you have feedback, acknowledge, and apologize if necessary, but respond to the bad ones and show these people that you're, a real person that cares about their business, and this will help you with all the other audience. So I'm going to spend just a couple minutes here, and then we'll get into the questions on the Demandforce View. But I have one last poll question. Let's bring it up, and I'll let Tschanen read it to you.
Great. What we are looking for now from our attendees is how many reviews does your business have across all sites? Chris just went through a lot of different sites to use, third-party sites, including negative reviews here. We want to know how many your business does have. Also, I'd like to take just a second to remind you that we're heading into the final part of our presentation. So you have just a little bit of time left to get in any questions that you might have about the material that we've covered so far or that will be coming up in this final section. So please submit any questions that you might have. And now let's take a look and see how many reviews your business has. The overwhelming majority has between 0 and 50 reviews, with a handful of 51 to 150. So Chris, now that we've seen how many reviews people have, I'll turn it back over to you to wrap things up, talk about that, and the Demandforce View.
Great. And I see the questions coming in, and I will definitely get to these in just a second. So the the Demandforce view, and I'm not going to sit here and sell you on Demandforce. What I'm going to try and show you is our philosophy on reputation and how it's a little bit different than how most businesses go at it. The first thing is reputation is an asset that you should own. This is our core fundamental belief on reputation, and what that means is we don't like to send your customers to third-party sites to fill out reviews. We want you guys to collect reviews on your own so that you own the asset and then send those reviews to the site. So it's basically, it comes down to who owns that review, and we believe that you should. Here's why. You send your customers to third-party review sites. That means they own it. The ramifications for that are the third-party site owns your review. You're subject to their terms of service if you ever want to use that review on your website in collateral, in a television ad. You don't own it. Yelp owns it, or Google owns it, or CitySearch owns it. That's important. The other thing is most reviewers, unless someone's very upset or very happy with you, most reviewers only review you on one site. So, you find a customer has something nice to say about you, guy in the lower left-hand corner, he gives you 5 stars. He puts it on Google, and that's it. They're not going to then go and put it on CitySearch, and then they're not going to go put it on Yelp, etc. With Demandforce, because we syndicate, and I'm going to show you that in a second, one review goes on multiple sites, and that's a big deal. So the problem is one review, one site, and that you don't own the review the third-party site does. So this is how we're different. We have our 6 pillars of reputation here that we try and help you with. The first one, life cycle of complete review, which is we do our best when you use us as a service to make sure that you're responding to your reviews, and then we make sure that response is always attached to that review when we syndicate it out. I'm going to jump ahead here. Syndication, we collect a review on your behalf, and I'm going to show you in a second how impactful that is, and then we syndicate it out to the site. So this means you collect the review, you own the review, and then instead of sending that reviewer to Google, to CitySearch, to other sites, we directly send it to the site for you. And then the last 2, actionable and monitoring. This means we're informing you when you get new reviews coming in, and we make it easy to review everything in one spot. So I showed this slide earlier, and these are the sites that we currently syndicate to. So that means if you get a review from us using our service, you own it, and then we send it to Google, we send it to Facebook, we send it to Superpage, we send it to CitySearch, we send it to Yellowbot, etc. So that problem of one review equals one site goes away. Now we have one review, and it shows up on all these sites. So in this case, just on the ones you're seeing, that's 8 different sites that your review is going to show up on. So imagine 100 people come in and review you. 33 review you on Google, 33 review you on CitySearch, 33 review you on Yellowbot. You have 33 reviews on each of those sites. In our scenario, you have 100 reviews on each site because we're simultaneously sending them out to all of them. The other thing that we do that's interesting, and this isn't to all the sites, but we actually syndicate reservations or appointments. So someone can book your appointment directly from the third-party site, like CitySearch, without leaving CitySearch. And so in addition to the review, in addition to the business information, in addition to pictures, we also syndicate your online appointment setting too, which obviously makes it a lot easier to get customers directly from these websites. This is what it looks like. So someone's on CitySearch and they click on the Make a Reservation. They have all your information there down on the right, office hours, forms of payment that you accept, where you are on the map, phone number, etc. But they can also book that appointment right there. Third-party sites that don't syndicate. Yelp's the big one. I've seen some comments here in the questions that have come in about Yelp. They don't accept any third-party reviews. They only accept reviews from their users that fill them out directly on the Yelp site. So for that, we actually help with that. But remember earlier when I said that they had a very sophisticated spam filter. So what you don't want to do is send out an email campaign to ask every single person to review you on Yelp, because that will trigger the velocity filter that I mentioned. So what you want to do is just ask a few people. And so we make it very easy to send out an email with a pre-done Yelp campaign that, where we ask people to review you on Yelp. But you can say, for example, I only want to send this to people that have shown up in the last 60 days that have already rated me 4 or 5 stars, and then maybe run that campaign every month or every couple months. So instead of sending a large amount of people to Yelp all at once, what you're doing is you're only asking people that have reviewed you well and have been in recently to review you, and this can help get your score on Yelp up. And that's one of the best strategies, by the way, to deal with negative feedback, especially on Yelp, is if you have 10 reviews and 2 of them are negative, that's 20%. Instead of trying to get those 2 down or have Yelp take them down or correct them, our philosophy is try and bury them, get 20 or 30 people over to Yelp if possible over a month or 2 to rate you really well, and just push them to the bottom. Yelp obviously works on the most recent review first, so if you can get that 1 or 2 star review down on the 2nd or 3rd page, it won't affect you as much. And so we think that's a good strategy. This is our monitoring solution. All the reviews that come into one dashboard. You can see exactly what people are saying about you. You can respond to them in one easy spot. And then, it's nice to only have to do this in one space. Don't know if everyone's aware of this or not. We've been in the auto industry for about 8 years, in a few industries as well. But Intuit purchased us 3 months ago, and with their resources, we think this is a fantastic opportunity to double down on the auto industry, and we plan on doing that. And then the last thing before we get to Q&A is, we really appreciate you showing up, and as a reward for that, if any of you guys want to continue or want to consider Demandforce as your not only reputation solution and social media solution, but also communications as well, then we'd love to give you a free month for checking us out. So in summary, to understand your complete and full reputation, it's your reviews, it's what people are saying about you on social media, it's your business information, hours of operation, images of your business, accurate information, including making sure you show up correctly on maps. We want you to own your reviews. We believe that reviews and your reputation is an asset that you should own. Engage your users, and that means responding to reviews, both positive and negative. And the last thing is syndication is powerful. Collect your review once and then syndicate it out to all those sites instead of sending everyone to third-party sites. We think that's the best solution. So with that, we'll get to Q&A, and I see the inbox is filling up here. So if you have any questions, please submit them. The first one I'm going to read from Kim is, are these third-party sites good for Canadian use? For the big ones, that is definitely true. Canada can be its own animal to some extent. The thing that's probably different in Canada is the smaller sites the smaller sites that are important are different than the smaller sites that are important in the U.S. There might be Canadian versions of sites too. You see the .ca. You need to make sure that your business is in the Canadian local version of that website. And so Google Plus pages for businesses, for example, they're different for U.S. and Canada. So just make sure that you're submitting to the right one. you don't want your business to never be advertised in the U.S. site because no one's ever near you, and also not advertised in Canada because you didn't submit to the right one. So that would be my one caution there. Second question, how do you monitor websites? Search our own company. Yeah, you can use a service like Demandforce, but obviously that's not right for everyone, and we get that. We think the easiest thing to do for monitoring your own website is set up a Google alert. Just ironically, you can Google alert if you're not familiar with that, what that is. But basically what that is you can set up a search for your business name. Hopefully it's unique. If you just do, like ABC Auto or something like that, that might show up a lot. But if you have a unique business name, excuse me, you can put that search in. Google will constantly run that search, and if it ever has any new queries, it will send you an email saying that it found a new result for that. And that's a great way to monitor reviews across sites. You can even do things like set up a specific Google review search to monitor other websites. So you could, for example, say, I only want to be notified if I get my business name mentioned on www.yelp.com, for example, if you want to monitor Yelp. And of course, there are companies that offer paid services that do this as well. I personally feel like especially for the 24% that aren't monitoring sites, start with a Google alert. It's completely free, and it might open your eyes to what people are saying about you. Another question, does Demandforce still feed our reviews to Google? Absolutely. So this was kind of a famous thing, especially amongst our customers, but I'm going to bring up the search results page really quick that I had up earlier. So the big difference is our reviews used to show up on the left in the search results. So instead of like in the upper left where you see 11 Google reviews, that would have been like probably 200 for one of our customers, and it would have showed up there. Google decided not to include any third-party reviews in their main search results area on the left here, mainly because they were trying to boost the amount of people that were reviewing things directly on Google because, again, they want to own your reputation, which, again, we don't want them to do. But you'll notice in the bottom right here that we still do send everything to Google. In fact, everything you see on the right here, the address that allows them to position it on the map correctly, the 5 photos, the business hours, everything, including the Demandforce reviews, was sent to Google by Demandforce. And in fact, we've had a direct data integration agreement with Google for the past 4 or 5 years now, continuous without interruption. So the only difference is Google decided to change the user interface a little bit and not include third-party reviews on the left side. So yes, we absolutely still send your reviews to Google. Next one, my staff seems to be unwilling to collect email addresses from customers. How can they phrase it? They said people don't want to give it as they don't want their email box flooded as many businesses do. Yeah, common problem. And at the end of the day, you should just accept that you're probably not going to get 100%. One of the things that we've seen customers have a lot of success with is tell them you're trying to go green, tell them you're trying to go paperless, which is hopefully the truth, and so that you don't have to send them postcards anymore. You don't have to send them letters, et cetera, to remind them, and therefore you're helping save money, you're helping the environment, you're helping the office go green. That's the biggest one. And then the other thing is, tell them you don't sell email to third parties. You're only going to send them reminders about their appointments, valuable content, et cetera, and hopefully they'll give into that. Okay, next question. Do the reviews through Demandforce have an impact on the reputation of Google or other search engines? Absolutely. All the search engines use reviews, any review they can find that they feel to be legitimate. in their calculation for search. So absolutely. In fact, one of the reasons we have a direct integration with Google and they've accepted our reviews is because we only send reviews from people we know for a fact to be customers. And the reason we do that is because we integrate with your management system. So we know for a fact that the person submitting the review actually spent money and was in your shop. And Google knows that, and that's why they take our reviews, and that's why they weight them into the search rankings. Next question. Should you respond to both good and bad reviews? Absolutely. I don't feel like you need to respond to every single review, especially if you're using a service like Demandforce. An average auto shop gets about 105, 110 reviews after 1 year with Demandforce, so that can obviously be a lot. You don't have to respond to every one. I would respond to every single 1- and 2-star, and then every once in a while, occasionally, especially if someone writes something really nice and personal, thank them. Absolutely respond, but don't feel like you need to respond to every single one. When you say the review is accurate, what if the review has some completely inaccurate statements? Is there legal action that can have this review removed? It depends on the site. When you do your reviews through Demandforce, we have procedures for getting reviews with inaccurate information, or especially offensive reviews, like if someone says Joe is a 4-letter word or something like that. Every single review site does have a policy for having reviews taken down, Yelp included. It is difficult, but our recommendation is if there's something you feel is completely inaccurate, wrong, offensive, etc., go through the arbitration process or the takedown process for that site. Every site has it. Sometimes it's buried on how you find it, but it is there. So if you find something that is inaccurate, you can check it out. Okay, back to mobile. What exactly do you mean by local, and how do we determine what is local and what is not? For this, I was specifically referring to sites that specialize in local businesses. So Yahoo Local, Bing Local, Google Places, Yelp obviously specializes in local, Foursquare, companies like that. Their whole business is predicated and based on local, and that's what I mean by local. So making sure you show up on the map properties, making sure you show up on the review sites, those are what I mean by local. Let's see, next question here. Just a quick question on pricing. Our pricing starts at $2.99, and for auto shops, it's basically all you can eat, one size fits all. So larger shops get the same price as smaller shops. It doesn't matter how much you use the system, how many emails you send, how many text message reminders get sent. It's one size fits all. Hopefully that answers that question. How do we collect reviews from customers? Is there a widget we can put on our website? Yes, if you use Demandforce, we have a widget. So the way it works is we integrate with your management system. We see when someone came in and had an appointment. At the end of every appointment, we send out an email asking them to fill out a survey, rating the shop, and then also asking them to fill out a review. And that's why we get so many reviews in, because we're literally asking every single one of your customers that you have an email address for to please do that. And then we do have a widget to put on the site. So we have a Facebook application, so you can put reviews inside your Facebook page. And then we have a widget so you can put reviews on any website that you want to. Okay, question, really quick competitive one. Someone's been using Customer Lobby for gathering reviews. How are you different? The main difference is basically what I said, in that we want you to collect reviews on your own, and most of our competitors, they're soliciting your customers to go to the third-party site and review you on those sites. Again, we think reputation is something that you should own, not the third-party site, so that's the main difference. Cost, I went over that.
All right, Chris, we'll jump in. We have time for about one more question, and then we will wrap things up for today.
Okay. A lot of pressure to pick the absolute best question. I think this is a pretty good generic one, and I'm going to do a non-self-serving one. And this applies to all the sites. The question is, how do we even get listed on Google? In the local auto repair, we are not listed at all. And this applies to all the local sites. And I've told you over and over how important it is. Obviously, if you use Demandforce, we're going to submit on your behalf. But you don't need a service, whether it's us or anybody else, to get into the sites. You need to go to the local section of that site, whether it's Google, Microsoft, Yelp, etc., and do one of two things. You need to submit yourself as a new business if you're not already in there. Or a lot of times these sites are getting information from companies like InfoUSA that have lots of information on companies throughout the country. And so they already have your business data. You just have to claim it and prove that you're the business owner. And sometimes that means having a postcard mailed to the address that you say you're at and then just entering a code. But there are submission ways. So again, it's either submit a new business or claiming one that's already there. And again, this is so incredibly important. Even if you only do the 4 or 5 most major ones, make sure that your site is on them, and you do that through their local business section.
All right.
That's it.
All right. Well, Chris, I want to thank you for answering all those questions. We do have several questions that we did not have time to get through today, but we will try to get in touch with people after this is over, get you some answers to the questions in there to help you better understand things. I do want to thank all of the attendees for spending time with us today. Hopefully you've learned some new ways to implement social media, to regulate your reviews, to check your reviews, to make sure that customers perceive your shop just the way that you want it. And if you'd like to see any part of the presentation again, share it with someone else. Archives will be available at motorage.com/demandforce. Also, you will receive an email letting you know when those archives are available, so you can check this out again. I want to thank Chris Brubaker with Demandforce for discussing social media, reputations, and drawing in customers with us today. We hope you enjoyed today's webcast, and with that, we'll let you all get back to your shops. Thanks for joining us, and have a productive rest of your day.